Okay, so true to my word, we said we are going to tackle the HUD in this video. And so basically there's a few different elements that we need to consider when talking about this HUD. The first one is the health. And so getting the health just right is a little tricky. And so as we add new hearts, then, where do we draw these hearts and how do we go up when we add a new heart? And then when we get the sword, it should appear here. As we get rupees added to our inventory, we increase this number up to whatever. In this game, we're just going to say he can go up to 999. All right. It's not exactly like the original Zelda, but whatever. And then here he can get up to 9 keys and 9 bombs. And then this over here, this doesn't do anything yet, but this is where your little square is, or rectangle is, as you are navigating through the world map. Okay. And so, that would show that. And then B, when you hit, I believe it is starter select, this HUD actually slides down to the bottom of the screen, and then an inventory will actually slide down in its place. We may not do that sliding mechanism. It's actually pretty easy to do. You just have to add an offset to every Y within the game objects, and then when they hit start, that just slides down, and so it's pretty easy to do, but it's actually going to be pretty tedious. So it may be just one of those things that I add, and then we just talk about it very quickly in the video. Although I don't like videos like that, I tried to follow make an RPG in a Unity video, and they would just gloss over some details and then be very explanatory about certain things, and then they would gloss over details, and then they'd come back and explain other things, and you're like, well, how did you get to step C from step A? You kind of just went over B, and I don't know what you did. So I kind of like to explain things exactly every step of the way, and not just gloss over a detail and just hope that you kind of figure it out on your own, because you wouldn't be watching this video if you could figure it out on your own. You would be programming it yourself. Okay. So we'll probably just do the tedious part and maybe speed it up a little bit. Something, I don't know. But so in once we get our sword, it should appear up here, and it does. And so basically we have all the elements for the HUD at this point. Okay. So this is what we're going to do this video. So let's go ahead and get started with it. Okay, so this is our starter code right here. We need to add some global variables, okay? And so what we're going to need is we're going to need some rupees. So we're just going to say that rupee amount. We're going to need his hearts. This is total hearts. And then we're going to need his current hearts. So and we might as well just make these 3 and 3. Okay. Almost did it again. Is equal to, let's say 5, whatever. And then the last thing is we have we don't have anything of keeping track of what sword Link has, and so we just need to do that. So let sword equipped, and we'll set it equal to 0 at first. And so this is where we're going to actually start. Okay, so we've already gotten the sword, so we need to tell our game that we currently have that sword. And so we need to go down to game object collision and look where we get that sword, which is right here. Okay, so we already play the item, and I suppose I already put it in there. That doesn't make any sense though. Maybe we're just getting errors at this point. But yeah, so we just need to say sword equipped is equal to 1. And at this point, it will start you off with that sword. Okay, but that's, it seems like it was already done, but it wasn't a variable that we had. So what we want to do is we want to come down and really get down to a big function that's going to be a big part of our game. Okay, and this is going to be called draw HUD. Okay, and so draw HUD is just going to draw everything that we saw up there. Okay, it's going to be quite a bit of code. So the first thing we're going to do is draw the actual HUD, and that's going to be this picture. And so if we look at it, it's this pause screen. Okay, well, it's not exactly just the pause screen, but I'm going to go ahead and open it up with GIMP. And this is basically what it is. All right. So it kind of gives us the characters that we would use for drawing the rupee amounts and stuff like that. It gives us the items that we pick up in the game. Okay, so we've already used this because we are using this graphic right here. And so this is what is going to appear at the top of our game, which is just this little subsection of this PNG. Okay, so we just need to grab this, and so it is at 258, but the offset here is so it is 258.11. Okay, and so let's go ahead and draw that in. We're just going to say ctx.draw image. We're going to draw from HUD at 258.11. It is 256 wide, 56 tall, and we're going to draw it on our screen at 0, 0, and the same dimensions, 256 and 56. Okay, and so what we want to do is we want to fill in parts of the map. Okay, so let's just go ahead and look at what this does for us. We're just going to call draw HUD in our draw function. And if you look at this, this looks pretty ugly. Okay, so basically these are places where hearts should be. But even if we drew a heart here, we would still have all this other stuff that is pretty much covered by pink and blue, colored areas. And so we want to get rid of this area. Okay, if we're going to draw our hearts in, we need to get rid of this area. And so that's what we're going to do here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just a ctx.fillStyle, and we're just going to set equal to black. I actually prefer using RGB values, but for something like black, we can just call it by name. Okay, and then we're just going to do a ctx.fillRect. And we're going to start at 176. This is where that heart section starts. 32. It's going to be 64 by 16. And we're going to look at that. And now all of a sudden we have blackness here. okay, which is great because now we can just draw our hearts. But we can't just draw hearts, okay? We need to be smart about it because if we have 6 hearts, they're on this bottom line. But if we have 9 hearts, one is drawn up here now, and so it's hard to make that transition from bottom line to the top line. So we need to look at that. Now, the code that we're about to write together, it probably is not optimized. It's just something that I did very quickly with one of my classes. And so we are just going to go with it. And if we want to refactor it later on, we'll refactor it. Okay, so what we want to do is, so if we have half a heart, and let's say we have 4 total hearts, okay, and we get hit by an enemy, and it takes half our heart away. Now we have 3.5 hearts. And so it's hard to, get the amount of full hearts we have with the amount of half hearts with just that information. So we need to kind of extract information out of that single number, okay? And so that's what we're going to do here. We're just going to say let full hearts equal math.floor, and then current, link hearts, okay? And so all math.floor does is round down, okay? And then we're just going to say let half hearts current link hearts minus full hearts. Simple enough, right? So if it was 3.5, this rounds down to 3, and we still have that 3.5 here, and so we minus the 3, and it gives us our 1/2. So we have a 0.5 here, okay? And so that's pretty easy. And so what we want to do is we want to start drawing the images for our full hearts, okay? And so we might have 1 heart, we might have 18 hearts, or not 18, 16 hearts. So we just want to use a for loop. But the first thing we need to do is we need to draw the outlines for hearts that we might not have, okay? Although this may be wrong, but I think if it starts at 3, you only see 3 hearts. So yeah, okay, so we don't want to draw starting out with 16 empty hearts. We want to start out with 3 empty hearts and then fill them in for what we have in our current health, okay? So that'll make more sense as we go along. And so we need to know what our heart Y and heart X is, and that's going to be different based on what line they're on, okay? So we're just going to say let we're just going to say 176 plus I times 8. Now, why did we do I times 8? Well, this I is the amount of hearts we have. This 176 is where we want to draw this heart. So at I equals 0, we are drawing it at 176. But when I becomes 1 for our second heart, all of a sudden we are saying 1 times 8, so we're adding 8 to it, and now we're drawing the second heart not at 176 anymore. We're drawing it at 184, okay? And it goes on down the line. But what if our I is greater than 7? Okay, what if we need to go up to the next line? So if I is greater than 7, we need to do something, okay? So we're going to say heart Y is equal to 40 minus 8 because we're going up. And then part X is equal to, minus equal to 64. Okay, so we're going to take 64 away from it so that it begins at the beginning of the line again. All right. And then here we're just going to draw the image. So we're just going to say ctx.drawImage. And so we're going to draw from the HUD because we want to draw these hearts. So let me show you where that is. We're drawing this stuff right here. Okay, zoom in on that. So we have an empty heart, a half heart, and a full heart. Okay, so we're drawing them from right here. And so the location we're drawing from is 627. Remember what we're doing right now. I believe 627 and 117 is the empty heart. 627, 117 is this empty heart. So we're drawing our empty hearts out first. Now it may be that a full heart will overwrite an empty heart, and that's perfectly fine. It just so happens that this is probably the easier way of doing things instead of figuring out, what empty hearts we need to add to the end. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what this does. Oh, so we had 3 health. We have now 3 empty hearts, that potentially empty hearts. This would be death, but that's where we're at right now. Okay, so if yours is not doing that, you need to go back and look at this code before you move on. So go ahead and pause it and just see where you went wrong. Okay, and so what we want to do now is we want to figure out our half heart X and our half heart Y. Okay, and so we're just going to say let so half heart X, and so we're going to start at 0, let equal to 0, and here's another for loop. Okay, so we're going to say for, and here we're just going to draw our full hearts. Okay, so for let I equal to 0, well, I is less than full hearts, I plus plus, and then basically we're doing the same thing. Okay, so what we can do here is we can actually go ahead and copy this line. So these lines right here, we are going to put them right here. All right. And so, but we need to change one thing. All right. And that one thing is this 645. So 627 becomes 645 because we're drawing our full hearts. All right. And so let's see here. So we want to know if at the end, so if I equals full hearts minus 1. Okay, so we are at the end of our loop. So that's exactly what this means. So we're at the end of our loop. All right. So we want to know where our half heart might reside. So that's what we're saying. Okay. So we are going to say if I is greater than 6, we're going to say half heart X 40 minus 8. So it's on the line above. Okay. And then half heart, I'm sorry, this is half heart Y. That would be the change in the levels. And then half heart X 176 plus I mod 7 times 8. And so what this does is we're looking at, so if it's greater than 6, we have additional hearts that may be up there. And so we're looking at I mod 7 to give us how many hearts above that number we are at. And then we're multiplying by 8 to see at where on the top line our half heart should go. Okay? And then here we're just going to say else. It's on the bottom line. And so what we're going to do here is, we can go ahead and copy this, but we'll change it slightly. Might as well say half heart y equals this, because we don't have it up here. So half heart y, in that case, that means we're on the bottom row. We have like 3 hearts or 2 hearts or whatever. So half heart y is 40. And then down here, we're going to do I times 8. And then we're just going to add 8 to the end. All right. All right. So let's just see what this does. It gives us 3 red hearts. Okay, good. That's exactly what we want to do. Now, what we want to do is we want to start testing some things. Okay, and so it's hard to test unless we want to go in and change things, but in the code. But you can change it right here in the console. So if we have a global variable, we can type that global variable right here. And what we want to do is change current link hearts. And we're going to set it equal to 2.5. All right. And I'm going to hit enter. And that's perfect. Okay. Now I'm drawing my 2 full hearts. We haven't drawn any half hearts yet. And so we don't see a half heart, but we do see that our hearts actually decrease when we change that number. And likewise, we could say link full hearts or link hearts is equal to, I don't know, 15. All right. And now we see that. Okay. So it works perfectly at this point. But if you're not seeing the same thing when you do this, you definitely need to pause the video and go back and look at that section of the code. Okay. And so what we want to do now is draw that half image. And so that's going to come after the for loop. And we're just going to, right here, we're just going to say if half hearts is greater than 0, and full hearts is greater than or equal to 1. And so what we're doing here is we're going to draw that half heart somewhere in wherever it should be, because it's half heart X and half heart Y is what's keeping track of it. So we don't know where it is, but it's somewhere greater than this. So let's go ahead and do that. ctx.drawImage. And we are drawing still from the HUD because that's where our hearts are located. And that half heart is located at 636, 117. It is an 8 by 8 image. We want to draw it at our half heart X and our half heart Y location. And it is still an 8 by 8 image in our game world. Okay. All right. So what we want to do otherwise, we can say else. And what we want to do is say half hearts is greater than 0, and full hearts is equal to 0. So we're going to draw this. I'm sorry, I messed this up. So this is an else if. Okay, and so we want to draw this at the very beginning of the line, okay? And so I'm just going to go ahead and copy this, paste it here, and we are going to change this half heart X and half heart Y to just 176 and 40. So this is at the very beginning, okay? And so let's go ahead and check to make sure that this works. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to go to inspect and console, and we're going to say link hearts is equal to 15, and then link current link hearts is equal to 4.5. All right, perfect. Now let's do that again. Let's change it to 8.5. Perfect. Let's change it to 0.5. Excellent. Okay. And so that does everything we want it to do. Okay, it's going to keep track of our hearts. And then what we want to do is we want to draw this the rupee value. Okay, so this gets that done. And so this video is already kind of long, so what we're going to do is we're going to come back and get the rupee values and the sword and everything in the next video. So this is actually a little bit more code for that, and then for that. And so yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and we will see that in the next one.